Sometimes the most dangerous things in life wear the friendliest faces. We grow up believing that fruit is nature's candy, a gift from the earth that keeps us strong and well. And for the most part, that's true. But as we cross into our 60s and beyond, our bodies no longer behave the way they once did. What was harmless in youth can quite suddenly become risky. I've seen it in my patients. Someone goes to bed feeling perfectly fine, and by morning they're in the emergency room, their family in shock, all because of a habit that seemed healthy. Today I want to reveal one of those hidden traps. It isn't a pill, it isn't fast food, it's fruit. Yes, the very thing sitting in your kitchen bowl right now. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to Channel Ageless Garden, where we uncover the truths that keep you strong, independent, and thriving. When you think of watermelon, you probably think of summer picnics, family laughter, and that sweet, refreshing bite that seems to melt in your mouth. It feels like the most hydrating thing you could put into your body, and in many ways it is. But for someone over 60, that slice of watermelon at the wrong time of day can quietly shift from friend to foe. Let me explain why. Watermelon is more than 90% water, but it also works like a natural water pill. We call it a diuretic, which means it makes your body push out fluid through urination. That's not a problem when you're young and your kidneys filter effortlessly. But as we age, kidney function slows down, and many seniors are already prescribed diuretics for blood pressure. When watermelon and medication combine, especially in the evening, the body loses more fluid than it keeps. While you sleep, you don't notice the slow dehydration creeping in, but your brain does. Dehydration thickens your blood, making it move sluggishly, like syrup instead of water. If that thickened blood is flowing through arteries that are already narrower and more delicate with age, it can set the stage for a clot. And clots in the wrong place are what lead to strokes. The early morning hours are particularly dangerous because blood pressure naturally dips at night just as dehydration reaches its peak. The result's a perfect storm. I think of one of my patients, Howard, a proud retired postal worker. At 82, he walked every day and watched his diet carefully. But he had one nightly ritual, 2 or 3 generous slices of chilled watermelon before bed. He thought it was helping him stay hydrated. One morning he stood up and collapsed on the floor. In the hospital, tests showed he was dehydrated, his blood was thicker than normal, and a small stroke had formed overnight. His wife sat by his side in disbelief, whispering, "It was just watermelon." And that's the part that makes this so hard. It feels impossible that something so natural could cause such damage. But watermelon doesn't have to disappear from your life. The secret lies in timing and balance. Enjoy it earlier in the day, when you're up and moving. Keep the portions smaller. And if you love it cold on a summer evening, add just a pinch of salt or sip a little coconut water alongside it, so your body holds on to hydration rather than losing it. What you want to avoid is making it your last snack before bed. Now let's talk about grapes. They look so innocent, don't they? Tiny, colorful, refreshing, something you can pop into your mouth without thinking. But that's the very danger. Grapes are one of the most sugar-dense fruits by volume. Handful after handful, the sugar rushes straight into your bloodstream. For an older adult, that's like pouring sparks onto dry leaves. Blood vessels stiffen with age. They don't absorb stress the way they used to. When a sudden wave of sugar hits, it irritates those delicate linings, creating microscopic injuries. Your body, always trying to repair itself, sends in platelets to form tiny clots over the damage. At first, you don't feel it, but over weeks and months, those microclots build, or worse, one breaks loose and travels upward. That's when a stroke strikes seemingly out of nowhere. The risk becomes even higher at night. I've seen many seniors sit down with a bowl of grapes in front of the television, believing they're choosing the healthier path compared to cookies or chips. But sugar spikes in the evening carry hidden consequences. At night, blood flow slows. Combine that with inflamed vessels and unstable clots, and the brain becomes more vulnerable. I remember a woman named Carol who told me she could eat grapes like popcorn. She was proud that she'd replaced evening sweets with fruit, but her blood sugars fluctuated wildly, leaving her dizzy in the mornings. We tested her circulation and discovered early warning signs, tiny clogs forming in the vessels leading to her brain. Fortunately, she caught it early, And by changing the way she ate grapes, limiting them to a small handful in the afternoon, and always pairing them with a bit of cheese or a few nuts, she stabilized her blood flow. Science backs this up. A study published in the journal Stroke showed that blood sugar spikes are strongly linked to inflammation in the brain's blood vessels, even in people without diabetes. That inflammation is the silent villain behind many late-life strokes. It's not just about candy or desserts. Natural sugars in the wrong form and timing can be just as powerful. So what's the takeaway? You don't have to give up watermelon or grapes. They're gifts of nature, full of vitamins and joy. But like any gift, they have to be opened wisely. Watermelon belongs to the sunshine hours, not bedtime. Grapes belong in small, mindful portions, never by the bowl, and ideally alongside protein or healthy fat. With age, the body is like a finely tuned violin, still capable of beautiful music, but more sensitive to sudden changes. By eating with awareness, you protect not just your health, but your independence, your mornings, your peace of mind. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine sitting under a palm tree, the warm breeze on your skin, and in your hand, a golden slice of mango or a juicy wedge of pineapple. These fruits taste like celebration, like reward, like the sweetness of life itself, and they are gifts, no doubt about it. But when you pass the age of 60, those same tropical fruits can begin to play tricks on your body, especially at night when you least expect it. Take mango, for example. It's soft, fragrant, and almost melts on the tongue. But inside that sweetness hides nearly 45 grams of sugar in a single cup, more than a glazed donut. In your younger years, your pancreas and blood vessels could handle that surge. Your insulin would rise quickly, your vessels could flex and absorb the stress, and within a short time your blood sugar would come back down. But as we grow older, insulin doesn't respond as fast, and our vessels are stiffer, less forgiving. That sugar rush slams into the bloodstream like a tidal wave against a brittle seawall, leaving behind tiny cracks of inflammation. And where there's inflammation, the body responds with clotting. Those clots may be microscopic, but over time, or in the wrong place, they can stop blood flow to the brain. And mango doesn't stop there. It contains a compound called mangifrin. On paper, it sounds harmless, even exotic, but inside the body, it can interfere with the liver's main detox highway, the cytochrome P450 system. That's the pathway that processes many common medications: cholesterol-lowering statins, blood pressure pills, certain heart rhythm drugs. When mangifrin slows down this system, the medicine you've relied on for years may suddenly build up to levels that are too high. The dosage hasn't changed, but your body's handling of it has. That can mean dizziness, low blood pressure, or heart rhythm changes. Sometimes the very things we're trying to prevent. One of my patients, Louise, adored mangoes. She was 74, and her grandchildren knew that if they wanted to see her smile, all they had to do was bring her a ripe one. She ate them often, sometimes in the evening, while watching her favorite shows. Over time, though, she began feeling unsteady when she stood up. One morning, she collapsed in her kitchen. Tests revealed her blood pressure had dropped dangerously, and her cholesterol medication was lingering in her system far longer than it should. The culprit was not the pills alone, but the mango that had quietly slowed her liver's ability to process them. Now let's turn to pineapple. Just the smell of it brings back memories of luau's and vacation buffets. But pineapple hides its own double edge. Inside it is an enzyme called bromelain. In small doses, bromelain can help with digestion, which is why some people even take it in supplement form. But in larger amounts, or combined with blood-thinning medications like warfarin, bromelain can thin your blood too much. That tips the balance from clotting risk to bleeding risk, especially inside the brain where even a small bleed can have devastating effects. Pineapple is also very high on the glycemic index, which means its sugars race into your blood quickly. At night, when your body's winding down, that sugar lingers, stressing your blood vessels when they most need calm. And then there's the acidity. Pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits, capable of causing what we call silent reflux. Even if you don't feel burning, small amounts of acid can creep up during sleep, irritating the airway and reducing oxygen to the brain. Research has shown that dips in oxygen at night are directly linked to morning strokes. the kind that rob people of speech or mobility before the day even begins. I recall a man named Raymond, 79, who loved pineapple after dinner. He believed it was a light, healthy dessert, but his wife noticed he often coughed in the night and seemed more forgetful in the mornings. When he finally came to see me, we adjusted his evening habits. No pineapple after dark, smaller portions earlier in the day, and always with a bit of protein to steady his sugar response. Within weeks, his nighttime coughing eased and his energy returned. His story reminded me how small changes in timing can create enormous shifts in health, and science agrees. A review in Nutrition Reviews found that high glycemic foods consumed in the evening were linked with greater risks of vascular stress and poor overnight blood pressure regulation in older adults. In other words, it's not just what you eat, it's when you eat it. So here's the truth. Mangoes and pineapples are not enemies. They are simply strong medicines wrapped in sweetness. At 30, your body could handle them at any hour. At 70, they demand more respect. Eat them during the day in smaller amounts and never alone. Always with a partner like protein or healthy fat to soften their impact. Think of it as inviting a wise friend to the party, someone who keeps the rowdy guests from causing trouble. That's how you continue enjoying these tropical treats without fear, with pleasure, and with peace of mind. If mangoes and pineapples are the exotic visitors in your kitchen, then oranges and bananas are the old friends. They've been on your breakfast table for decades, packed in school lunches, blended into smoothies, and offered as the symbol of health itself. But like all old friends, sometimes they bring baggage you didn't notice before, especially as your body changes with age. Let's start with oranges. Bright, refreshing, a burst of sunshine in winter. Many of us grew up with the idea that a glass of orange juice in the morning was the best start to the day. But few people realize that oranges carry a compound called furanocoumarin. The name sounds complicated, but the effect is simple. It blocks your liver's ability to clear certain medications. The liver is like a giant filter and traffic controller, deciding how quickly drugs move through your body. Furanocoumarin throws a wrench into that system. Suddenly, the statin you take for cholesterol, the calcium channel blocker for blood pressure, or even blood thinners can build up in your system. This buildup doesn't feel dramatic at first. You might notice more tiredness, some mental fog, or maybe bruises showing up more easily. But over weeks or months, the excess can tip the scales, leading to dangerously low blood pressure, bleeding risks, or even a stroke from the imbalance. I once treated a man named Albert Bryant, 79 years old. He swore by his daily glass of orange juice, never missed it. But when he arrived at the hospital after a stroke, tests showed his blood thinner levels were far too high. His doctor had not known to warn him, and he had not known to ask. It was a heartbreaking reminder that even natural foods can have powerful, hidden effects. Now, does that mean you can never enjoy citrus again? Absolutely not. But it does mean respect is required. Talk with your doctor if you're on these medications. Swap that daily orange juice for water with a slice of lemon or lime, which contains far less of the problematic compound, but still gives you that refreshing tang. And if you do eat oranges, make it in moderation, and not as a daily ritual if you're on sensitive medications. Then we come to bananas. Harmless, portable, easy to peel. Bananas are perhaps the most common fruit in the world, but inside their soft yellow package hides a different challenge. Bananas are naturally high in potassium. Potassium is wonderful in balance. It helps your nerves and muscles fire correctly, helps maintain steady blood pressure, and keeps your heart rhythm smooth. But with age, kidneys often lose efficiency, and many seniors are prescribed medications like ACE inhibitors or diuretics, which also influence potassium levels. The result can be potassium stacking up higher than your body can handle. Too much potassium doesn't always announce itself with pain or warning. It can silently disrupt the heart's rhythm, and in the wrong moment, that disruption can be catastrophic. There's also the matter of ripeness. A slightly green banana has starches that take time to break down, releasing sugar more slowly. But a spotted, overripe banana is like quick fuel. Its sugar hits the bloodstream fast, just like candy. Combine that with the dehydration many seniors face in the morning, and suddenly the first meal of the day, banana on an empty stomach, becomes a cocktail of rapid sugar rise, high potassium, and thickened morning blood. That's not a recipe for strength, it's a risk. I'll never forget Margaret, a 76-year-old retired teacher. She loved making smoothies every morning. Frozen bananas, orange juice, a bit of yogurt. She thought it was the healthiest breakfast imaginable. But after a mild stroke left her with weakness in her right hand, we discovered her potassium levels were consistently too high, and her blood sugar spiked dramatically each morning. Once we adjusted her breakfast, green bananas instead of spotted ones, water before food and protein added in, the difference was night and day. Her energy stabilized, her sugar leveled out, and she never had another stroke. Science backs this up too. A study in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that high morning glucose variability, those sharp rises and crashes, was linked to greater stroke risk in older adults. It's not about avoiding bananas, but about when and how you eat them. Pairing them with protein, like an egg or a spoonful of nut butter, slows sugar absorption and keeps your energy steady. Drinking water before eating helps thin the blood, reducing clot risk. And choosing a banana that's still slightly firm gives your body more time to process its starch. Oranges and bananas. Two of the most ordinary fruits, yet they hold extraordinary power in an older body. The key is not fear, but wisdom. You don't need to banish them from your life. You simply need to treat them with the respect they deserve. Like potent medicines that can heal or harm depending on the dose, the timing, and the company they keep. Eat them thoughtfully, and they will continue to nourish you without stealing your safety. Aging doesn't mean giving up the foods you love. It means learning how your changing body responds and making wiser choices that keep you safe. Fruit is still a gift, but like any gift, it must be unwrapped carefully. Smaller portions, earlier in the day, always with water and ideally paired with protein or healthy fats. These simple shifts can turn risk back into nourishment. Most importantly, never make these choices alone. If you take medications, talk with your doctor before changing your diet. You are not fragile, you are resilient. With knowledge, you can enjoy fruit safely for life.